Oh, a new visitor from the woods. Welcome. Are you a lost wanderer? Tired of a long journey? Then join me. Sit beside the fireplace and let me tell you some stories that may soothe your mood as you regain your strength. Are you all set? Good. We often hear that friends turn into enemies, but would you believe it could work the other way round? Settling differences were often the reason behind conflicts. As an example, tribes in Freljord clash against each other due to political feuds. As more tribes emerged in this frozen land, more views came along with it, making it near impossible to unite all Freljord. However, a kind soul was nurtured in a small tribe, growing up with a philosophy that kindness can bring people together. With that in mind, here's the story of Braum, the heart of the Freljord. Traveling to the harsh environment of Freljord, the cold breeze was the custom of the place. A lot of tribes functioned differently, molding their youth for the betterment of one's future. On one fateful day, a child was born. And it was indeed a special event, since he was an iceborn. An alteration to some creatures in Freljord, granting them the ability to resist the cold and wield true ice. Being an iceborn was considered a special gift, since Freljord's environment was unforgiving, and those who were born to resist such coldness definitely had the advantage. As a child, Braum was larger than other Freljordian youths. Seemingly, he was growing too fast, or maybe he was just too large for his age, and it could be a bit of both. Despite displaying a potential great warrior, his mother taught Braum not to use his size to intimidate or bully, and taught him that true courage was not about dominating. It was about helping those in need. This made Braum a bit confused. As a young child, he doesn't understand the depth or consequences of one's actions yet. His mother continued teaching him a kind approach to a situation, nurturing the physique advantage of Braum, instead of letting him become a violent man. The strategy looked effective, since the best way to teach and guide someone is when they are still young, planting the seed early so it will blossom beautifully in the future. One day, an enemy tribe was attacked by ice giants, and Braum's mother did not hesitate to help them, despite being an opposing group towards them. Braum was confused about why her mother would help their enemies, but thanks to her kindness, the said tribe became allies. It was at that moment when Braum finally understood his mother's philosophy, that all of Freljord was a family. He then pledged to bring that family together, since tribes in Freljord were mostly against each other. As Braum grew up, he helped people in his hometown by saving them from danger and bringing hope wherever he went. He becomes the man that his mother wanted him to be, and Braum proudly carries the philosophy of his mother, showing kindness can bind everyone. Eventually, he realized that he was needed in more places than his home. It was a tough decision to make, but Braum was determined, seeing his purpose in this path. With a heavy heart, Braum bid his mother a tearful farewell as he went off on his quest. His mother gladly let Braum go, proud of how she raised her son, and she definitely did so. The rest of the tribe also gave Braum a warm goodbye, setting him off in good spirits. And so, Braum went on a journey to help those in need. No definite destination, just roaming around and helping anyone who would see. Braum believed that it was the best way to unite the Freljord. Showing camaraderie was his best weapon in defeating the enemies. His heroism and good deeds inspired people all over the Freljord to tell stories about his feats, but some were unrealistic and exaggerated. Braum earned plenty of titles as he ventured through the icy place. As his titles suggest, he has a heart of pure gold. Braum is a selfless, friendly man who enjoys helping people, simply because he likes being altruistic and hopes that his actions will inspire others. Ever since witnessing his mother's act of kindness on a neighboring tribe, despite being enemies, he has taken his mother's teaching to heart and sees worth in all of the Freljord's people, calling them all a family of brothers and sisters, and is able to make friends with anyone, regardless of their character. As more stories about him go by, this is how they describe Braum: a large, fair-skinned, bald man with comically large muscles and a brown mustache. He has a large tattoo that covers from its left arm to his pectoral. He wears a large shoulder pad on his right shoulder that connects to a large belt buckle with the symbol of a ram's head, representing his connection to Orn, the demigod of forging and craftsmanship. He carries a large shield with a ram's head forged in the center, which also has a myth on its own. One myth told that Braum's signature shield was an indestructible vault door made by the demigod Orn, which he broke from its hinges by punching the rocks surrounding it in order to save a troll boy trapped within. Braum laughed heartily at the stories he'd heard about himself, but rather than refuting them, he embraced them, as he wouldn't let the truth get in the way of inspiring others. However, the truth was that Orn made the unbreakable door for Hearthhome, but Braum managed to take it off the hinges, used it as a shield, and won't give it back, leaving Orn surprised and a bit annoyed at the same time. As Braum continued to travel across the Freljord, he then traveled to Reykjavik, a sacred Avorsan pilgrimage site located in the southern part of the Freljord. Braum has been hearing stories from different taverns about a leader who is viewed as the reincarnation of Avarosa, destined to unite all tribes. Braum aims to hear the words of Ash, a leader of the tribe who followed the teachings of Avarosa of the Three Sisters. He believed that he could learn something from the famous leader, and that's why Braum made his way to the said location. Upon his arrival, Braum met Tryndamere, a barbarian who was determined to prove his worth by dominating every opponent he could face. It was good timing for Braum, since Tryndamere was currently in a duel, giving him a bit of information about what to expect in the place. During the battle, Tryndamere became increasingly lost in his fury and was actually about to kill his opponent. His attacks were more vicious, and it was clear that Tryndamere could slaughter his opponent by the next couple of attacks. This doesn't sit well for Braum. He immediately intervenes by holding up his shield, preventing Tryndamere from landing the final blow. Tryndamere kept attacking the impenetrable shield, aggressively slamming his longsword to break Braum's shield. However, his attack made 0 damage to the shield, mainly because it was not just a normal one. Only the impact from his attacks was the one that Braum should endure. And so, Braum took all the blows. He held strongly until Tryndamere's rage subsided. Later on, Tryndamere's fury went down as he reclaimed his sanity. Some who watched the battle thought that Braum would attack now that Tryndamere was exhausted, but none of that happened. In fact, Braum and Tryndamere became good friends after the encounter. Braum went back to his mission, and he eventually met the leader of the tribe. It was a smooth conversation, since Braum and Ash shared a lot of values. However, it became a little tricky when Ash asked what faction Braum was allied to. Ash was currently in the middle of a political feud, and she was being too careful with her moves despite Braum's genuinity. Braum cleared that he has no specific allegiance, as he believes that all within the Freljord are brothers and sisters, and since then, the Avarosan tribe warmly welcomes Braum. Now finally realizing why people claimed Ash to be the one destined to unite the Freljord, Braum assisted her with their mission. He became reliant on Ash as they both share a goal, and the Avarosans have adopted him as their own. He often tells adoring children that he wishes for the Freljord to settle their differences, and then retire to become a Poro herder. Braum has been the favorite guy of everyone around him, and it was even said that Braum was the one who introduced Tryndamere to Ash, and the rest of the tale blossomed for the two of them. Throughout their missions, Braum sees no one as an enemy of his, However, the Frost Guard, led by Lysandra, is hunting for him, and he does not understand what they want from him. For some reason, the Frost Guard was always hostile toward Braum. Still, he has fought against the Frost Guard's forces numerous times in order to defend innocents threatened by them. Sometime before the events of Ruined King, Braum hears of a sickness that is plaguing the Freljord's children. While visiting a village, one of the elders mentions that when he was a boy, his father told him that the waters of the Blessed Isles could cure his plague. Although the elder warned Braum of the dangers of visiting the Isles, since the one known as Blessed Isles were now called the Shadow Isles, Braum put the warning in his mind and set sail for the Isles in search of a cure. If it was for the future of the children in Freljord, then Braum would not hesitate to do whatever it takes. Braum ventured on his own, but he did encounter a lot of creatures along the way. One of them was Yumi, a magical cat from Bandle City. Yumi rested on his shoulders for a time, protecting him from angry snow spirits stirring up flurries in a hailstorm, while he brought her wriggling fish. It was quite a unique encounter, as the two of them worked together just to catch fish for Yumi. It was a long travel for Braum, but his determination didn't fade one bit, no matter what the circumstances arose during his journey. Eventually, Braum set sail towards the Shadow Isles. It felt like he was getting close to his goal, but all of a sudden, his boat was attacked by the black mist, forcing him to abandon the ship and lose his shield in the process. Braum floated through the shore looking lifeless. He was then rescued by the Buru, a tribe of the Serpent Isles in Bilgewater. Upon regaining consciousness, Braum returned the favor by helping the people of Bilgewater, bringing a massive sea creature into the docks with his bare hands. Later on, Illaoi, the Kraken priestess, returned to the tribe, fresh from facing the Blood Harbor Ripper. She investigated Braum's feat, amazed by his strength. She then asks him to join their quest to stop Gangplank's mission, to which Braum immediately agrees after knowing the purpose of the said quest. Together with Illaoi, Misfortune, Yasuo, and Pike, Braum helps in stopping the revival of Ruined King. While they are voyaging towards the island, Illaoi's demeanor towards Braum implies that she finds Braum physically attractive. Over the course of the adventure, Braum and Illaoi develop a friendship. Illaoi invited Braum to be more intimate, and while he wasn't averse to her advances, Braum respectfully declined because it was an inopportune time due to him needing to focus on the upcoming battles. Having a lover was not yet on his mind, and he still had his own goal to accomplish, besides the quest he agreed on. Once on the Isles, the group met Mayokai, the Twisted Treant. There was a bit of misunderstanding between the group and Mayokai, but Ari, a fox-like Vestaya, an acquaintance of Yasuo, stepped in and cleared the situation. Mayoki then shared his situation, telling the group that Thesh, the Chain Warden, corrupted his roots. Mayokai would be a huge help to further advance in these Shadow Isles, but they must help him first. After quite some time, the group managed to heal Mayokai, thanks to the lead of Illaoi. Mayokai then offered his leaves, infused with the remaining Water of Life, to cure Braum's people. At long last, Braum finally achieved the goal of his voyage, but his mission was not yet over, since there was still another one to fulfill. Together, the group breached Thresh's libraries of agony. They discovered a lot of information, including traces of Gangplank. Unfortunately, Thresh was also in the vicinity. The crew eventually found Thresh and a battle ensued. Thresh has a lot of tricks hidden on his sleeves, making the battle difficult for the crew despite the numbers advantage. Thresh laughed at them, enjoying the agony and struggles of the group. Even Braum's strength was no match to the Chain Warden, let alone the rest of the group. But with their valiant team effort, the crew finally defeated Thresh, making him return to the Black Mist. It was a hard-fought battle, But their quest doesn't end up here. The group then followed the trace and found a gangplank reviving Viego, the ruined king. Gangplank tried to imprison Viego, but the ruined king was too powerful. Gangplank failed and became possessed by Viego instead. Viego then flew towards Bilgewater alongside a violent harrowing, an event forcing numerous undead to attack across Runeterra. Viego is in search of his dead wife's crown, the crown of the Shattered Queen. Forced to fight the crew under Viego's control, Gangplank was defeated and imprisoned on Sarah Fortune's ship. Meanwhile, Ari managed to sense something lingering in the black mist and received visions of Viego's discarded memories, seeing the negative parts of his marriage and learning the truth, that his love for his wife was not as pure as he tells himself. The group took Gangplank back into custody, and Alawi interrogated him for a way to defeat Viego. Gangplank then revealed that the discarded memories discovered by Ari would most likely be capable of weakening Viego, enough to be defeated. Moments later, the crew managed to catch up with Viego, but Viego sent out a gale of black mist, shipwrecking the crew on a mysterious island with mystical winds. It took the crew some time, but the ship was eventually repaired, allowing them to make it back to Bilgewater in time to prepare for Viego's harrowing event. Returning to Bilgewater, Braum caught a rumor of a strange shipwreck with beams of blue light emerging from the sea. Recognizing the ship as his own, he found the ship and recovered his shield. On their arrival, the crew crafted a plan. Braum was more of the muscle of the team, so he stayed out of the planning and let the team handle that part. The crew planned to take the amulet to an ancient Buru forge located underneath the Shadow Isles to have it repaired. And so, the crew swiftly moved while Viego was busy on finding the crown. Once the crew returned to the Shadow Isles, the crew found a facility capable of transferring memories into sunstones. Auri went to this facility while the rest of the group proceeded to the Buru forge. As the crew managed to find the Buru forge underneath the vault, Auri joined the rest of the group and they bore their souls before Nagakaburos herself, battling the goddess's avatar and being found worthy of her help. The goddess finally cleanses the amulet. Braum was more of an observer in this one, seemingly accompanying the group through the ordeal, without fully comprehending the whole situation. With the successful mission, the crew made their way back to Bilgewater once more. It was the time for them to execute their plan and face off against Viego, the ruined king. Everyone in the group played their part. Braum's task was more on creating space so Ari could use her abilities to weaken Viego. That was the time for Braum to shine as he proved his strength in the battle, blocking attacks from Viego's abilities as Ari closed in. Their strategy looked effective, and Ari hit Viego with more of his memories, making him relive his death, when an angered wraith of Isolde killed him at the Blessed Isles. While distracted, Sarah Fortune used the opportunity to imprison Viego within the amulet. Though he nearly corrupted her soul and tempted her to follow him in the process, Miss Fortune was ultimately successful as the ruined king was finally banished. Following their triumph over Viego, the group celebrated their victory and cheered for the new bond they had formed. For Braum, it was never about the destination. It was about the journey, and he did earn a lot of respect from the people of Bilgewater, proving that he was worthy of the title, the Heart of the Freljord. Eventually, the crew parted ways, aiming to fulfill their individual missions this time. Braum returned to the Freljord, escorted by Yasuo, who was on a journey to Noxus in search of Riven the Exile. Braum's journey has been long and eventful. Initially, the goal was simply to find a cure for the children of Freljord, but then, all of a sudden, he became part of the crew, stopping the ruined king in his ruination. Braum made a lot of friends, inspiring people outside of his hometown. He He even managed to attract someone unintentionally. Eventually, Braum made it back to Freljord and successfully handed over the cure so the people Freljordians could mass produce it for everyone, which was something out of Braum's expertise. He continued to wander around Freljord, returning to his original mission regarding the unification of all tribes. While doing so, Braum met a young boy named Nunu and his friend Yeti Willump. Braum saved Nunu and Willump from a pack of Arctic wolves, and since then, Nunu looked up to Braum. Eventually, Braum joined the adventure of Nunu and Willump, but it would be a different story for some other time. Enjoy the fireplace for now.